Welcome to 1500ESPN.com. Derek Wetmore and Nate Sandell at the Target Center, where the Timberwolves just bounced back from an ugly loss on the road last night. Second half of a back-to-back, they beat the Boston Celtics at home, 106-88 tonight. Good response from after a road loss that they looked lethargic and sloppy on defense. How important do you think it was for them to respond to this game?
That's kind of been the Wolves' identity this year, is when they do lose games, they have bounced back from it. I think Kevin Martin even said in the locker room afterwards that maybe we can program into our head our next game that we lost tonight, so that they can just kind of have that mentality that they need to win these games. But yeah, after the way they played against Denver, just very, like you said, very sluggish, just not playing very good defense. The shots were going down, but defensively they were a mess. Tonight, a lot more in sync. There were times where it was sluggish, but they overcame that, and it was a game that they really did need to win in a stretch of they're one of two stretches they have here coming up of 5 games in 7 nights.
Yeah, kind of brutal early season schedule. Kevin Martin touched on that in the locker room. Every team's going to go through that in the course of a season. The Wolves are just getting it out of the way early, it seems. They often, he said, catch teams while the Wolves are on the end of the back-to-back, and they're not getting other teams on their second night of a back-to-back. So legs, a little bit of an issue for the Wolves early this season, but you touched on them stepping on the gas pedal at the beginning of the second half, which is what good teams need to do, is pull away from bad teams. I thought they used Nikola Pekovic pretty effectively tonight.
Yeah, really. In the last 4 or 5 games, Peck is really, I think he's finding his identity, where he belongs in this offense, what he can do. The first 4 or 5 games of the season, he was, I just think, a little bit lost in terms of how he fits into this new look Wolves roster. But now I think that they're giving him, he's finding more opportunities, he's established himself. Tonight was actually the first time in 3 games that Peck made it to the free throw line, which is showing that he is starting to establish himself down the paint. I think in the last few games he's been shooting above 50%, which is a big change from the start of the year. So that's they need that. They need to have somebody like Peck. That's why he's getting he's getting paid the big bucks. They don't need him just to be a guy that's going to clear space. They need him to bring offensive presence, and he did that tonight with a double-double, 20 points and a double-digit rebounds.
And they touched on too. This was Pekovic said in the locker room after the game that he knows Kevin Martin and Kevin Love are going to get the bulk of the shots. So from there, he finds out where he fits in the offense and his secondary scoring role. And yeah, he was able to do that tonight. One final thought before we wrap up the video, easy for me to say. The bench has been a concern all year, really, and it's a good problem to have. I mean, if your team is good enough that you're worried about your 7th, 8th, 9th guys off the bench, guys like Robbie Hummel, who had a good night tonight. Dante Cunningham was great tonight. JJ Barea continues his hot shooting. If we're talking about the bench this early in the season, it's a good sign. But with that being said, there's just not a lot of depth. We saw the starters still in the game in an 18-point lead late in the 4th quarter. And you mentioned that Coach Adelman's been a little testy about that. Where do you view this team's bench is right now? Is it a net positive, or is it something that's holding them back?
I do think it's holding them back in a way, because they are having to use the starters quite a bit. I mean, they're up in the upper echelon of starter minutes, and that is something that I think they need to have those guys establish themselves early on in the season. For this team to get to where they want to be, they need to establish themselves early and go forward and ride that out. But at the same time, that's going to catch up with you eventually. You need to have a contribution from your bench guys. And the fact that Robbie Hummel got that start on Wednesday, it's a clear sign of where Derek Williams stands on this team.
That's a great point.
The fact that Derek Williams today, the only playing time he saw was when they were up by 18 with under 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter. But that's the first time we've seen him since the Cleveland game. So it kind of just shows you that Rick Adelman is really sticking with about 3 or 4 guys, really in that JJ Barea, Dante Cunningham, and Robbie Hummel have really been his main 3 guys off the bench, and other than that, not getting a lot of contribution. But it's good that JJ Barea is finding his hot streak here in the last couple games, but they need to find contributions from other guys, and it needs to be consistent in order for this team to just get consistency all the way through the year.
For Nate Sandell, I'm Derek Wetmore for 1500ESPN.com at the Target Center, where the Wolves, as mentioned, just won 106-88 over the Boston Celtics. Keep checking back 1500ESPN.com for all Nate's great coverage. Also, Zach Harper with Wolves columns on the statistical breakdown side of things. Thanks for checking out the video. See you next time.